Okay. Today, welcome to Depth by Design. Today we are on our way to Kennywood.
Let's go.
And today's guest is Ronald, also known as my father. Ron was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
412.
Just like his parents before him. He is a father of 3 daughters, and just like Heather, also enjoys an active lifestyle. When he was 18, he joined the U.S. Navy and traveled to various places around the world, like Israel. So welcome to Depth by Design, Dad.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
For today's episode, I would really like to focus on 2 things. How you think growing up in the U.S. and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has shaped you as a person. So that'll be one area of discussion.
Sure.
And then the second area of discussion is I would like to hear how you got so interested in fitness and the impact health and fitness has had on your life.
Sure.
So can you start with discussing a little bit about where you grew up in Pittsburgh?
I grew up east suburbs of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
A small little town called Verona. Until around 7th grade, and then my parents moved to Oakmont, so I went through my high school years at Oakmont. I grew up with all of my cousins, all of my aunt and uncles. We all grew up in the same town, very tight-knit. My father, he worked in the steel mill, which was right down the street. My mom worked odd jobs throughout her life, supplement the income that my father, he made good money at one time, and then the steel mills went under, and they closed all the steel mills. So there were some really hard times. Wow. Probably late 80s.
Okay, that's when they started to close down.
Yeah.
So then they went through some hard times.
Yeah, some very hard times. Yeah. My dad was on unemployment for a long time, and used food stamps, and had to shop at a lot of government cheese and powdered milk. So it was difficult times for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But for them, you persevere and
yeah,
you move forward, right?
So they graduated high school, both of them?
They graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
My mom actually skipped a year because she was pregnant. And so she was out a year, then went back to school. And during those times, it was very frowned upon to be pregnant.
Yeah.
And some people said that she should get an abortion, and my grandparents were very supportive. And thank God that she didn't, because I have my older sister. A little shout out to her. And then I have another sibling who's 8 years younger than myself.
Okay. So growing up in Verona, is it like a safe area to grow up in? Like, were you guys playing on the street?
Yeah, it was very safe. That? I mean, especially during the summertime, you'd leave in the morning and you wouldn't come back until the big thing in Pittsburgh is you're home. We didn't have clocks or watches or phones, so you would be home when the street lights came on. So that was your time to be home. So anytime you were out, you'd leave your stuff at the ball field, come back, have lunch, and then you get ready to leave. Your mom would say, make sure you're home before the street lights come on. And that was your time, or that was the time that you had to be home. So It's kind of cool. Those days are long gone.
Yeah, because everyone just has a phone or an Apple Watch on them for the time.
Yeah, simpler times, I think it was.
Do you think, does anything pop out to you about, growing up in Pittsburgh? Like, what about growing up in Pittsburgh specifically do you think has shaped you?
I think going back to the steel mills. I mean, Pittsburgh was huge in steel mills, so a lot of families had family members that worked in the steel mills, and it was a blue-collar town. Everyone took care of each other. Everyone was there. It was more of a community. Everyone took care of each other, and I think that was the big thing. So you didn't need a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
but you knew that you had to work hard to get what you wanted,
Hmm.
and that was a big thing. You had to work hard, and I think that's what was instilled in myself and my siblings.
So when the were like in Verona, were there a lot of like were a lot of your other neighbors like also working at the steel mill
Yeah,
and
my
things like
uncle
that?
worked there. My grandfathers worked there. All of my friends' fathers worked in the steel mill.
Wow.
Uh, so right now, I mean, they has since knocked the steel mill down, and
Hmm.
there's a set of homes in Oakmont. Um, but yeah, that was there forever. That was the place where everyone worked.
Was Patty ever able like to transition? Because obviously that sounds like it was a hard transition. Like, okay, that was his like job, that was his career, right? Working in steel mills.
Yes.
Like, did you ever find like another kind of like niche
Well,
to work
he was a
in?
machinist in the steel mill, so he was able to take those skills to a machine shop
Hmm.
on probably with I don't know, a half hour away. So he was able to take those skills to another place. But it's a young man's work,
Yeah.
and it's hard to stay in that profession for a long period of time without getting burnt out. But I mean, he did it
It's
to
like
take care of
physically.
physically,
Yeah.
yeah. But he hung in there for a long period of time until he couldn't do it anymore.
So it sounds like Pittsburgh's identity as like the steel city,
That's
kind
why,
of at the tail
yeah,
end.
that's why they call it the Steel City.
Yeah, the tail end of when steel mills were still functioning in the city was a part of, um, shaping your family,
Yeah, it
since
shaped
your dad.
the entire community, Oakmont, Verona, neighboring communities. Everyone worked there.
What do you think is shaping Pittsburgh now? Now that we don't have steel mills, like, I mean, obviously we're still known as a steel city. I mean, what's the biggest
Well,
change
I think
have you?
there's so many small communities in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
So I think you still have identity that way, and I think that hasn't gone away.
Mm.
I think it's changed a little bit in regard to that. Where when I grew up, all the families stayed. They didn't travel like
Mm.
like how you're in Amsterdam and
Yeah.
Joey, she's in Ohio, and my siblings are out of state. So that's the thing I think is the difference now. I think
Hmm.
people they're moving away, but the communities still have their identity, which is good.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, small town kind of feel.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. And obviously that goes right back to I'm I'm living back in the community that I started in.
yeah.
Because I love that. It's very comforting for me,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot through my years. Being in the
Hmm.
military, and I was able to
Yeah.
experience things where okay, I know what's out there. I know what I appreciate and where I want to be. But I think
Yeah.
it's really important to get out there and experience different things.
Yeah, so you mentioned the military, and I also mentioned in the introduction that you were in the US Navy. So, what were your experiences like in the US Navy?
Well, I think it was me enlisting in the military. I think was a turning point in my life, and I think I wouldn't be here right now in the position I'm in if I didn't enlist in the military.
How old were you?
So grandma had to drive me into the city of Pittsburgh. I was 17.
Wow.
She had to sign the paperwork. It was on they called it delayed entry program. So I joined my senior year of high school, and then they wait until after the summertime, and then you go to boot camp. So I was in boot camp at 17, went to Great Lakes, Illinois, for 2 months, and then I had a month of school to prepare myself for being out at sea. And during that time, it just happened to be during the Gulf War.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah, so I was home for a week, and they shipped me right back out um, to the Middle East. So it was very quick and very eye opening, and I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to death
Hmm.
because that was the first time I was really on a plane away,
Yeah.
and so it was a scary time, but I think I grew up fast, and especially in the Middle East, there's some really nice areas, but some of the areas I was in that were not as nice. And I think you really learn to appreciate where you come from and what you have, even though growing up it may not have been a lot, but you appreciated, you know, the freedoms that you had in our country compared to other places that I've been.
Is there like a specific memory in the U.S. Navy that has like stuck with you throughout the years?
I think a couple things. One would be my cousin Glenn and I were on the same ship together. He graduated high school 1 year before me, and we were actually able to get on the same ship, and that was I think that was amazing. So I was able to have those experiences with my cousin. And then we had some leave time that we spent in Israel and went to Tel Aviv and swam in the Dead Sea. You know, was able to put my feet in the Jordan River. So those things those were great experiences. I was young at the time. I tried to enjoy and take in as much as I could and experience that. I think as I'm older now, I think I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more now. But it was a great experience.
And then you mentioned in the beginning how you felt like if it wasn't for the U.S. Navy, like you wouldn't be where you are now. What did you mean by that?
I didn't want to be stuck like my parents. I didn't want to be stuck in that job where it was never ending, and to me, it felt like I would have been stuck because I was a exceptionally below average student in school. So that was the one thing that I knew I wasn't ready for college. I never really spent a lot of time on schoolwork, and I knew that wasn't something that I would be able to
excel at the time.
Absolutely not. So I'm glad I had a counselor who was a father of one of the students that I went to high school with, and he kind of mentored me. His name was Mr. D'Elia, and he told me and helped me kind of work through what I think I already knew that I needed to do, but he kind of nudged me in that direction of the military. And then plus my grandfather was in the Navy, my uncle was in the Navy, and I knew my cousin was in the Navy as well. So I think at that time it was a no-brainer. It was just I had to be something I had to work through in my head that was the best thing for me.
Yeah, it's nice. I feel like we all kind of had, well, I guess I shouldn't say all, but I've had some experiences with mentors and stuff like that, and those other adult figures outside your parents are also very important. I think, or they can be very influential.
And I think as you go through life, you don't realize the impact that those people have on you, because maybe it's just a couple conversations that you have with a particular person, but as you get older, you realize like, wow, that was a very important conversation in my life that, I'm sure that person knew what they were doing, but I was so young but I respected him so much that.
Yeah, always looking back in hindsight, you're like, wow, like that person helped lead me down the path that led to this, and that.
Yeah.
It's pretty special. And kind of tying back, at one point you did mention like U.S. freedoms and things like that, but I also just want to ask, like, how do you think growing up in the U.S. more generally, because we talk about Pittsburgh, how Pittsburgh shaped you, but how do you think growing up in the U.S. has shaped you as a person?
Oh my God. So, I think that goes back to what I had said earlier with being in other places, other countries, and knowing what we have here, even though that, we don't, United States, I mean, obviously we don't live without sin. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is without a doubt the best country in the world. And I can actually speak from experience of what it is and how much I appreciate being here in this country, and I'm very patriotic.
Proud American.
Yeah, I am very proud American, and I'm our military. law enforcement, keeping everyone safe. You know, we can talk about politics all day, whatever, but you know, my main thing is making sure that you guys are safe and my family's safe, and that's the most important thing for me. And having opportunities that other people wouldn't have, you have here.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important.
Yeah, I think there's a certain kind of like mindset when you grow up in the U.S. of like
we take it for granted.
You do take it for granted, and it's not perfect.
Mm-mm.
But I'm also definitely grateful to be born where I've been born.
Yes, absolutely.
And then after the Navy, so how did you end up? Because you are now a police officer. How did you end up like deciding you wanted to join like a police force after the Navy?
Well, it's interesting because growing up in Verona, there was a police officer, and then of course I didn't realize this at the time when I'm young, but there was a police officer. His name was Jojo Bergamasco, and he was a Verona police officer. And I just remember him always taking the time out. It'd be 90 degrees out. He would park his car, get out. We'd all be playing basketball. He would get out and actually play basketball with us, or come over and start and talk to us. And that always stuck with me.
Mm.
So in the military, it became a point where I had to decide whether or not to stay in for another 4 years, or pursue something else. And I've always been interested. I've always been the guy, like I want to look after the guy that maybe maybe doesn't have as much, and so when I was in the military, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a ride along. So I started doing ride alongs in Arlington, Virginia Police Department.
What's a ride along?
So you have to sign some paperwork, and you ride along with one of their full-time police officers, just to give you an idea of what they do on a daily basis. And so I did that a few times, and I fell in love with it. And the guy, the admiral that I was working for at the time, my last 2 years, I was in Washington, D.C., he offered I could have went to Hawaii for 4 years, or I could have went to the police academy. And so I decided to go in the police academy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was out in the military for a week and went in the police academy right afterwards. And I knew that was my calling.
And the
rest is history. I'm in my 30th year at the same place. And I still like the job too, which is great. And it goes back to JoJo, Officer Bergamasco, is I try to do the same things that he did.
Yeah, be a positive influence on the community.
100%.
Because it can stick with someone. Who knows, you might have inspired some other kid someday.
Maybe.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Did you ever reach out back to him?
I'll see him maybe once a year.
Okay.
At golf outings, and we always hug. And he's retired now, but he knows. I've told him before.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now we're almost to Kennywood, so I'm going to shift gears for the last, few minutes of the ride. My sisters are sweating in the back. It's a hot day today, but
So did you tell them about Kennywood? Every year we've probably missed maybe, I don't know, a handful of times. We used to go to Kennywood once a year, every day, Oakmont Verona Day, take everyone there. So we love Kennywood. It's an amusement park.
It's a Pittsburgh experience to go to Kennywood.
Yes, it's in the middle of a town, in the middle of a small little town, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good time. So I'm going to shift gears to, you also have a love of fitness.
Yes.
Maybe love's a strong word, but you've always been active.
Yes.
As long as I've known you.
Yes.
My 24 years on this earth. Were you always into fitness?
24 long years.
And if not, how did you become so health conscious and aware?
Well, I think I've always, with my job, you have to be physically fit. And there's times where, you let yourself go or whatever. But especially now as I get older, I do, even though I work in a very, for the most part, safe place, there are times where we have to struggle with people, and being, 53 now, trying to struggle with a 21-year-old is a lot different at 53 than it is in my 20s. So, So that, I think that's the main thing. And of course, what are you guys going to do without me if I'm not around, right?
I know.
So that is
Exactly.
important to me as well, is trying to stay healthy. And,
yeah, so you can meet your grandkids.
Yeah.
One day.
Right. That would
play
be nice.
with them would be nice.
Yeah, they go out in the yard and dig.
Yeah. So okay, so it sounds like your job really helped you like stay committed to fitness.
100%.
And then also us children.
Yeah, I want to keep up with you guys. I want to be able to, go to Kennywood with you guys and go for a run at North Park like we did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Little things like that. I want to be able to enjoy those things in life.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like health is you take it for granted until and then so, like if it's once it's taken from you, then you realize all the times you take it for granted. So, but I always watching you and Mom, you guys have always been throughout, into fitness, and I think has stuck with all of us, all my sisters and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're all very, active.
Active.
I think it weighs ebbs and flows throughout life. I just think that happens, but I think the overarching key is do you stay consistent throughout your life? Yes, there might be periods where you might be more fit than others, but
absolutely.
Yes. Over your whole life, are you still aiming towards that goal of trying to stay active?
Yes, very important healthy. As you get older. To stretch and
yes.
I don't care what you do. Walk.
Yeah.
Run, lift weights, golf.
Also, I just want to talk about, because you ran a marathon.
I did.
When I was little. What was the training for that? What inspired you to do that? And what was that whole experience like, just prepping for a marathon and doing it?
Well, I think I always wanted to set goals for myself. And I thought it was important to have something to strive for. For example, just like what you mentioned, the marathon. So I was like, listen, I'm going to set a goal. I want to run a marathon. So I started that year. The marathon in Pittsburgh Marathon is Mother's Day weekend, Mother's Day weekend. So I started in January, and I had a book, and I wrote down all my miles, and I ran a couple half marathons to prepare for it. But I think just me mentally, it was always good to have something to set your mind to, set a goal for. Not even for the marathon. I did it for, I didn't have a college education when I got out of the military, but I set a goal of getting my college degree. Mm-hmm. So, I put myself through college where I was working. So that, I think it's so important that you set goals for yourself, no matter how old you are.
Yeah. And was it tough training for the marathon? How did you start doing that?
I just slowly, I would set times. So I wouldn't even worry about how many miles I did. I would do, I would run for a half hour. And then I eventually move up to a couple of days where I'd run an hour. And then sometimes I'd run 2 hours. It would vary.
Straight. So all endurance you were kind of focusing on.
Yes.
And how old were you when you did this?
Oh my Lord. I think you were 22 years ago. I think you were around 2 years old. In 500 feet. So it was a long time ago.
So you were probably around 30.
Yeah.
In your early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. And I couldn't do it again.
Yeah, that's
it's very demanding. It's very physically demanding on your body.
And what was it like the day of the race?
It was nerve-wracking. I was excited. Because come on, buddy. It was exciting because that you're finishing your goal of what you wanted to do, and just all of the excitement surrounding, and all the excitement in the city, and everyone cheering you on, and you were there, and I think Joey would have been a baby at the time. So it was exciting. It was that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Is there we are in the Kennywood parking lot, so I think it's time to wrap up. Is there anything you would like to say that you feel like wasn't touched upon? Any final words?
No, I just want to just want to say like how very proud I am of you
Oh,
and how much I love you.
stop.
You're my firstborn,
Oh my
and
God.
it's a joy, and it's a joy. It's a joy to have you in our lives. And then these guys, I remember the girls asking me one time at dinner, "Hey, Dad, are we adopted?" And I looked at all three of them, and I'm like, "You really think I'd pick you three?" So
So funny. All right. Ron, skillet, everyone.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. Thanks for listening.
Pittsburgh.
By
Let's go,
design.
Pittsburgh. Let's go, Steelers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you gonna